Let's start where we probably agree. Us is a movie where the protagonist originated as a villain. That shouldn't be too controversial. The biggest twist in the film sees that the protagonist, known as Adelaide, came from the tunnels below and knowingly took the place of the movie's main antagonist, known as Red, in the world above. If you agree with that, let's see if you can hang for what I'm going to say next. The actions of Red are practically justified by the actions of Adelaide, as well as whoever's to blame for the existence of the tethered in the tunnels. Now, to be upfront, I am not condoning mass murder in response to inequality. To make more sense of my argument, let's boil down the actions of Adelaide and Red. Red wanders away and gets attacked by Adelaide, who takes her place in the world and in her family. Adelaide, of course, lives in fear of the day Red will rise again and come for her. And finally, when that day comes, Red doesn't come alone. She rallies what appears to be all of the tethered into violent revolution against their counterparts above. Put even more simply, Red does nearly the exact same thing that Adelaide does years before. The only difference between the two is that Adelaide did it solely for her own freedom and gain, whereas Red did what she did for all of the tethered. And do either of them deserve to be judged harshly? Is Adelaide, a girl born into the nightmare that is those tunnels, evil for seizing an unlikely opportunity to rise into the real world? And is Red evil for becoming bent on righteous outrage and vengeance after having the freedom of the outside world wrongfully stripped away from her? To me, these aren't evil actions. They're understandable reactions to horrifying circumstances. Adelaide feeds her fear of Red's return as she knows that anyone there who knew they could escape to the world above would, and she knows that Red herself has even more reason than any other. But despite this, she acts with confidence in the knowledge that she has to do what's best for her and her family now, no matter what. With the information she has at her disposal, she's able to save herself and her family. I would hope to do the same thing if given the chance in that situation. Meanwhile, Red's position is fittingly inverted. She knows the freedom of the outside world, the smell of fresh air that the tethered couldn't possibly be aware of. And she also knows firsthand the damage the tethered will deal to their counterparts when they go above to take their place. With this information at her disposal, Red is able to enter the tunnels of the tethered as one could enter the cave in Plato's allegory and perform a dance in front of the shadows. She's a force of violent enlightenment and revolution for the tethered. And if you think I'm being too generous with that wording, I ask you which of the major wars across history that you would consider a more meaningful cause to kill for than an entire population of clones being produced and held underground against their will in abhorrent conditions. I would hope to do the same if given the chance in that situation. The movie portrays a version of the world where it's about where you currently are instead of where you are from. It favors nurture over nature. It doesn't matter that Red came from above. Her children are born below and inherit flaws endemic to the tunnels, whereas Adelaide comes from below, but her children are born above and are perfect and happy, in Red's words. Even Adelaide herself, who's unable to speak upon first coming to the world, is able to eventually learn and does not appear to have any apparent traits shared with the tethered by the time we see her as an adult, with the exception of when she finishes off Red during the finale. We could take the comparison even further if we consider the metaphorical implication of Adelaide gaining her voice after her ascent to the outside world, while Red comes back out of the tunnels with a voice which sounds severely damaged after years below. The fact that where characters physically exist directly correlates to their quality of life paints this picture where conquering the world above will serve the tethered beyond its luxuries and their vengeance. It'll also make their lives demonstrably more safer, fulfilling, and enriched. I won't tell you what to think here. I'm not sure I have a solid opinion what these characters are or what they should be categorized as. It's a matter of subjective judgment whether you call either Adelaide or Red a hero or a villain or something in between. The main thing I just want to say is I think you're wrong if you feel that one deserves to be labeled differently from the other. If you think it's okay for Adelaide to take her shot at freedom at the expense of Red, it's hypocritical to think the tethered aren't all also okay to take theirs just because the movie focuses on Adelaide. And if you think that Red's revolution is brutal and horrible, you inherently must see Adelaide's own act of liberation as such as well. Thanks for listening.